in our country. Think of that.
You know, there were a lot of protests. Trump was sort of walking across the stage, sniffing, you know how he does, breathing it all in. Willie, he had this thing down that he's actually amping up his on-stage performances. He actually reminded me, you see the Austin Powers movies?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see the Austin Powers movie? Yeah. He sort of reminded me at times like a fat bastard. At times he was like looking at the audience. You remember the character? Yeah. It's a character. Yeah. It's a character in Austin Powers. And he's sniffing and he's looking around. He's like, thank you. I thought he was going to say, get into my stomach at one point. He just is really starting to take on this role of dear leader. And you can see it last night more than usual. He's amping it up. He's amping his audiences up. He's amping up his racial attacks. He's amping up the demagoguery. This is a guy, he is, as David Brooks said this morning in the New York Times, this is a guy is a force. And the only way the Democrats are going to beat him is with an equal force.
Well, I mean, we've become so numb to the way Donald Trump behaves. And when you watch a rally like that, it's worth pausing to recognize that the president of all the United States and all these cities is trashing the cities over which he presides, whether it's Los Angeles or San Francisco or Baltimore. But he knows politically he is not going to win those places, so he's made a calculation that he can go after that to stoke up the people in that crowd, to stoke up the people who came out and voted for him last time. I think it's also worth mentioning, Yamiche, how far the bar has been lowered for Donald Trump when everyone was crossing their fingers and saying, let's see if he asks the public, the group in front of him, or encourages the group in front of him to chant, send them back, about United States citizens, about United States congresswomen. And when he doesn't do that, everyone says, oh, good, okay, at least he didn't do that. That's the president of the United States, and people are acting grateful that he didn't let the crowd chant, send them back.
Well, in some ways, this is, I think, what has made President Trump be able to survive scandals and controversies, because right when you think he's going to hit his lowest, President Trump pulls back just a little and says, you know what, I'm not going to go for the racist chant of send her back. Instead, what I'm going to do is make light for several minutes of the suffering of families and of American citizens all across this country in places like Baltimore and Chicago, which happen to have majority black cities and centers, but then not talk about the suffering that's going on in the state that he's in, which is Ohio. I just came back from Ohio. There's a place called Macery, Ohio. It's nicknamed Misery, Ohio, because people there are suffering so much between economic devastation and drug overdoses. And the president didn't say anything about that. And Abby Phillip of CNN had a really smart tweet. And she said, can you imagine the president going on an extended riff about the opioid crisis and overdoses in rural areas across this country? And you probably can't. And it's true. You probably can't imagine the president focusing on the counties that I visited, which are 95% white, 91% white in a lot of areas that went for him overwhelmingly in Ohio. He doesn't want to talk about the struggles that those places are facing because a lot of them are run by Republicans.
Yeah, and when he's walking around like that, Donnie Deutsch, if I'm a little kid, I'm worried. I'm just worried. Get in my stomach. It's an Austin Powers joke. We'll show you clips later. So, Donnie, Jonathan Lemire and the Associated Press wrote an article this past week about how Donald Trump keeps lowering the bar, that every time you think he has gone as low as he can possibly go, which is, of course, over 3 years, has been a great deal, that even the most cynical White House observers, before he started attacking Elijah and started attacking these women of color in Congress, thought that Trump had gone as low as he could go. And as Jonathan reports, a lot of White House observers and people inside the White House were shocked that actually the frantic sort of management lifestyle has become even more detached and even more dangerous. And we don't know where the bottom is. We do know that he continues to shock by the day.
You know, you use the Austin Powers rather light metaphor. With all seriousness, the Mussolini, when Mussolini's standing up there on that terrace like this, with his face like that, to me, the parallels with Trump in terms of that self-satisfaction at the chaos he's creating, the parallels are stunning there. You know what's so ironic? That coming off of, to me,